$45 million. You think they would be more excited and prepared for this? This looks like your friends going out to a bar crawl. Hey, we're going out, gonna get drunk. I don't know why I'm here.
Disruptive.
Weird thing to happen. Talking about what happened over the weekend. As you know, Trump had a bit of a parade. It was his birthday. So why not celebrate with armed militia at the tune of $45 million? What better way to celebrate a 78-year-old former game show host, former reality star, turned president, turned psychotic man? You throw a military parade. So this is from The Hill. It says 5 things to know about Trump's $45 million military parade. And here's Donald Trump, Truth Socialing this out. He's doing his own little PR advertising. A great military parade is on. Rain or shine. Remember, a rainy day parade. He spelled parade wrong. A rainy day parade brings good luck. I'll see you all in D.C. Doing his own advertisements there. Washington is gearing up for an extraordinary display of military might on Saturday with a parade and festival to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Army, a day that also is President Trump's 79th birthday. The event has drawn fire for its expected costs as well as its timing, with critics deeming it another example of how Trump has politicized the armed forces. Trump has maintained that the parade is well worth the cost, predicting a boost in Army recruitment. Oh, really? Really? You think people marching down the line when they see explosives on television and the death and despair of Gazan children and now Iran, you think that's going to bring people together? Hey, I guess I should enlist. I'll put my bootstraps on and go die for another pointless war. Yay. The parade will be followed by a concert and fireworks and will be streamed live by The Hill starting at 6 p.m. Here are 5 things to know. The Army has estimated the parade will cost $25 to $45 million, although that doesn't include costs for cleanup, police, and damages to city streets. 6 in 10 adults in a nationwide AP NORAC poll conducted between June 5th and June 9th said that the parade was not a good use of government funds. However, 40% of the people approved of Trump's decision to hold a parade, a larger proportion than 29% who disapproved. A few Republicans have joined Democrats in publicly criticizing the cost and necessity of the parade. Senators Ron Johnson and Susan Collins raised concerns last week following a hearing of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and Senator John Kennedy said he wouldn't have held the parade. We're a lion, and a lion doesn't have to tell you it's a lion, Kennedy said on Tuesday. I would have saved the money, but if the president wants to have a parade, he's the president, and I'm not. The lack of action. Senator Rand Paul has been the most outspoken Republican against the plans, telling reporters this week he has never been a big fan of goose-stepping soldiers and big tanks and missiles rolling down the street. A defense contractor convention in Paris, a move between homes, and a wedding anniversary are among the reasons many Republican lawmakers won't be attending the parade, Politico reported Tuesday. Out of 50 congresspeople that the outlet surveyed, only 7 said they were planned to attend, including mega devotees Byron Donalds, Elisa Stefanik, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. The missing names include notables such as Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris. Senator Roger Wicker, the chair of the Armed Services Committee, will be at the Paris Air Show and major gathering for defense contractors. Wicker previously expressed concerns about the event's price tag. House Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters he is moving homes on Saturday and will not be at the event. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen plans to celebrate his wedding anniversary. Scripps asked all 53 Republican senators if they plan to attend the parade. Only 9 said they would be there, while 41 said they wouldn't. A White House official told Politico that at least 15 cabinet members, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, will be in attendance. I'm sure he's there because they heard there was a beer tent. About 1,500 protests organized with the No Kings movement are expected to take place nationwide on Saturday, with rallies planned in most major cities. Organizers have chosen not to hold a protest in Washington, D.C., citing a desire to redirect attention elsewhere. Instead of allowing his birthday parade to be the center of gravity, we will make action everywhere elsewhere, the story of America that day. People coming together in communities across the country to reject strongman politics and corruption, they wrote. Similarly, some of the protests are being organized as fairs or festivals. The demonstration in Boston is being planned in coordination with the city's Pride Parade. Trump has threatened potential protesters in Washington, D.C. with very big force. Through his press secretary, snapped at a reporter who asked if Trump respected the right to peaceful protest, saying he did. Numerous roads, unless it's protesting Israel, then you get deported. Numerous roads downtown will be closed for the event's sizable security perimeter. The closures include the 12th Street Expressway, Constitution Avenue, blah, blah, blah. A number of bus routes will be delayed, yada, yada, yada. Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport will face disruptions, with the Federal Aviation Administration announcing Wednesday that it will halt flights at the airport between 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. in accommodation flyovers for the event. Most major airlines are offering travelers flexibility. Southwest, American, and United are allowing free rescheduling or changes to Dulles International Airport or Baltimore Washington International Airport. The last military parade in D.C. was a victory celebration for the end of the first Gulf War, including Operation Desert Storm. It featured 8,000 troops as well as weapons and tanks used in the war, and it cost around $12 million. The U.S. Park Police estimated at the time that 200,000 people saw the parade, with about 800,000 present in the National Mall area. Saturday's parade, which has a $45 million price tag, will actually be of a smaller scale in terms of personnel, with only 6,600 troops expected. Officials have projected attendance in the general hundreds of thousands. Trump mulled the idea from military parade during his first term, when he said he was inspired by seeing display for France's National Bastille Day in Paris. But Pentagon officials, including then Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, opposed the event. Trump's rowdy speech to military members at Fort Bragg on Tuesday escalated concerns about politicization of military, with soldiers booing former President Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom and the mainstream press. So $45 million for soldiers to walk down the streets and use pretty much as political props for Donald Trump. Because it's not really celebrating the military in the same way that Remembrance Day or Veterans Day or Memorial Day would do. It's not actually commemorating the people that have sacrificed their lives. This is all for show. And considering the fact that not only is it a $45 million expense on taxpayers, meaning you guys, to fund this, but it's also sponsored by Palantir. And we know where Palantir is heading towards with the military. They want to occupy control and turn things into AI so we can do mass surveillance on people and mass droning on our supposed enemies. Which is not exactly a defense mechanism that people think about. So this guy, Jake, says when military men and women in uniform march, they march with tight timing and in lockstep as a sign of pride. These soldiers couldn't be further from marching in lockstep. It's clear that they don't want to be part of Trump's dictator parade and are just phoning it in. So here's a bit of coverage. This is from, I think, NBC. Here's a bit of it.
Again, today's a celebration of Army. As you noted, the other branches are much younger. I'm sure that's a source of competition at times. But this is a chance to celebrate soldiers.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't look as daunting and daring as, say, China or Russia or North Korea. When you see their military and they're like pumped up, they're, marching in unison. It's really just like scary. You almost fear those people. This is like almost like a fun run. This is just like walking in a festival. Like they're just like, we should see this again.
Again, today's a celebration of Army.
Look at
that. As you noted, the other branches are
$45 million. You think they would be more excited and prepared for this?
This is a chance to celebrate soldiers.
I guess this is the military's version of quiet quitting. So here's another take. This is another military parade prior to Trump's celebration. And this is what you'd kind of expect the military during a parade route would do. Watch this. Look at that. Uniformity. Marching in unison. Tight walks. The chanting.
In the early morning. In the early morning. It's all right. It's all right.
See, that's what you expect from a military parade, especially one that costs $45 million.
Again,
and not
a celebration of Army. As you
not
noted,
this.
The other branches are much younger. I'm sure that's a source of competition at times. But this is a chance.
This looks like your friends going out to a bar crawl. Hey, we're going out, gonna get drunk. I don't know why I'm here. And I know people are trying to, stir this up and say, how dare you mock, the soldiers. I'm not mocking the soldiers. I'm mocking the fact that this event is taking place, pretending to honor the veterans and honor the military personnel, the men and women fighting, even though it's not. It's all for show for the president. And if they really want to commemorate the people lost and the people that died, they wouldn't be marching down the streets in that fashion. There'd be unison. There'd be a tradition. They would go down to the war memorial and honor the people that have sacrificed and lost their lives overseas. So again, it's just such a ridiculous notion that this even happened. And here, this is from Mark Sergraves, or is it Segraves? The Army 250 parade starting 30 minutes early due to incoming weather. Crowd nowhere near the 200,000 expected. So this is the stage in front of the White House. They thought they were going to get big crowds, and it kind of fell short. Here, I had to cut the audio, but you can see. Look at the crowds. Look at that. A lot of people. Lot of. Oh, look at all that green. Oh. That's disappointing. Even look at people walking by. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing there. Not exactly the crowd pleaser Trump was thinking. So here, this is from Patriot Voice. He says, I'm a Navy veteran, and honestly, this is depressing as hell. I would have gotten a swift, salty kick in the ass if I marched like that when I was in boot camp. That was only in 2012. This honestly feels more like a humiliation ritual than a military parade. What a waste of 40 million plus tax dollars. So that's from a veteran saying that this is a mockery of the Navy and military and the entire Army as a whole. That this is not something to be celebrating or congratulating, but it's just a mockery of this. And it really is a mockery. because of the fact that they, hyped this up, they spent all this money, they partnered with Palantir, they made this big announcement. They're hoping that so many patriots would come out and watch this. And it just turns into a laughing stock. And it was such a laughing stock. It had just low amount of audience members that you could hear the tank squeaking because of just how empty the room is. You hear that? This. $45 million. You can see the bleachers are empty and it's so quiet that the tanks are squeaking. And if you think they're forking over $45 million for an event like this, what is $1 trillion to the Pentagon? How is that going to be beneficial? What's going to go into that? When you have squeaking tanks at a parade that no one wants to witness, no one cares about. Let's see this again. This is hilarious. It's literally cartoonish. It's literally cartoonish. Oh, it's just too hilarious. It's just too hilarious. So there's an overview of the stage. Obviously, you can see not a lot of attendance. Not a lot of attendance. This is kind of a big, giant fail for the Trump administration. Not exactly the birthday bash that he was hoping for. This is other veterans. We saw Patriot Voice. He's a Navy veteran. This is other veterans that were protesting against this exact parade. So the amount of people that were championing and thinking that, this was commemorative to all the people that were overseas and a positive thing for America. Just note that there's a lot of veterans that oppose this, and they oppose this because that money spent for this charade of a parade could have went towards essential services for said veterans. That this was a complete catastrophe, a complete dupe, and that money could have been suited elsewhere. So here, this woman on the street here is going to interview this guy who's a veteran, and he's going to explain why he's marching along with the No Kings people and not celebrating the military in this parade.
How long were you a service member for?
2 years. I was drafted.
You were drafted?
1969. Just got married.
So how do you feel about a draft dodger throwing himself a $45 million military birthday parade?
No, the guy is an absolute fucking idiot.
No, I can't even tell you how angry that makes me feel.
I think it's a disgrace.
It's completely unnecessary.
Would you rather see that money put into the VA?
Yeah, absolutely. And also TRICARE treats bone spurs. So
Trump dodged Vietnam.
Oh.
He disrespected John McCain, who was a real actual veteran who served his country honorably, and even afterwards. So the fact that he would take this and use it as some kind of military prop, like he's want to be a dictator, because that's what dictators do.
Can't really argue with that. Can't really argue with that. Although the John McCain being a hero, he did serve longer than Donald Trump. I can give you that. But John McCain is psychotic. John McCain was a psychopath. He also advocated for the bombing of Iran. He made it into a song. He laughed about it. But they're definitely on point with that. The fact that $45 billion could have went to veterans assistance, could have went to the hospitals. Hey, imagine if all those tanks and troops marched from Washington, D.C. all the way down the Carolinas and helped rebuild the hurricane victims' homes. Imagine if that went to support the people in Maui and rebuilding their communities. Wouldn't you think that would be some sort of courageous event that would bring back the kind of respect and tolerance of, law enforcement, military personnel, and civilians? Wouldn't you think that would connect the ties? Wouldn't you think that would be more responsible than parading around in this charade? You would think. So Republicans Against Trump states the look on your face when your $45 million military parade flops with a tiny crowd And on the same day, millions of Americans march against your corrupted administration. Yeah, that's a face of non-impressed. That's a non-impressed face. That's the grumpy cat look of Donald Trump. And there are millions of Americans march. That's for the No Kings Day, which we're going to get later on to the show here, just to show how many people came together in defiance against this charade, this just abusive power to try to convince people. And again, I'm not, dissing, I'm not throwing service people under the bus for this. That what this is actually a mockery of the military and veterans and the army. This is a mockery that they're putting on this show, they're putting on the stunt, all in the light of Donald Trump's birthday. It doesn't actually put any gratitude or put any condolences to the people that have sacrificed themselves. And at the same time this is going on, we are now getting urged by Israel, who inevitably has control over the foreign affairs of America, to send troops over there to fight along with them and sacrifice more people for this outrageous war. Even though this administration kept promising you that things were going to change. So here is Donald Trump, after a disappointing birthday bash, after having the grumpy cat face throughout this event, made this statement.
Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never get...
Literally just a tiny golf applause. Literally no one, just, Yeah. You march people around, you put on a parade, you put on a show. Yeah, that's really going to show China. That's really going to show Russia. Again, go look at their military. Go look at North Korea. And tell me which more do you fear of? Which more do you have more respect and tolerance and think that they're actually doing better jobs?
Give up, never surrender, and never ever quit. They fight, and they win.
Oh, the winning. We're going to be more winning than Charlie Sheen. Fight, win. That's the best Donald Trump to come with that remark there on his birthday. So, luckily, he has backup. He has a backup MC. J.D. Vance went on stage, and he gave an even shorter address to the service people that were marching in this catastrophic parade. And this is a guy, again, who promised that we are not going to serve, NATO wars. We're not going to send our troops overseas on the behest of NATO or Israel or any other place, as they're sending troops over for NATO, for Israel, and everybody else. And here's J.D. Vance doing the exact same step and tap of gaslighting people and gaslighting the service members, and basically giving himself a pat on the back. Watch this.
And so to our soldiers, we're so proud of you, and let me tell you that the way that we honor and respect you is, number one, we never ask you to go to war unless you absolutely have to, and number two, when we do ask you to go...
Sorry, my sides are splitting from that. We never ask you to go to an outrageous war. Come on. It's only, couple times here and there. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Sudan, Somalia. We have over 1,000 bases overseas. Vietnam, Korea, the Gulf War, the Persian War. Those are bad examples. Let me think about this. When have we ever not lied to the military and personnel sacrifice themselves overseas for an outrageous war? When have we not lied to them? I'll have to get back on you on that. Can't believe he blurted that. Let's hear that again.
Is number one, we never ask you to go to war unless you absolutely have to. And number two,
we never ask to go to war unless you absolutely have to. He is saying this as they're prepping soldiers to deploy with Israel to attack Iran. As we have spent billions and trillions of dollars wasted, the countless lives for the past 2 decades of endless warfare. Oh, we never asked people to go to a war that they didn't want to take part in. We just gaslight them. We made a narrative. We fear-mongered people. We made conditions so worse here in America that your only solution is to enlist. That's why they recruited poor communities. They went to black and brown communities and deployed those people because they are in financial strains caused by the same U.S. government. And now he's telling you that, oh, we never forced people to go into these wars. You don't have to fight a war that you don't want to. Pfft. Wow. That says something about that. Here's the rest.
When we do ask you to go to war, we give you the weapons and the support needed to kick the hell out of the enemy and come back home safely.
But we do give you the weapons and continuously lie to you. I can't even hold this together. It's just so hilarious. They don't even give the proper weapons. They deceive people like that. And they're hoping that, hey, if you die over there, then you're not my problem. That's in the last few decades that this has been going on. Since Vietnam. And probably even before then. But most notably, from Vietnam on, America has lied people into sacrificing their lives for outrageous warfare that doesn't need to happen. Does not need to happen. And it's actually worsening our defense. It's threatening more of our national security. Like I said, the biggest threat of national security is national security itself. It's not Iran. It's not Russia. It's not China. It's not any other country but your own. Your own government is the one that's standing in the way of actual peace and prosperity and standing in the way of you being safe and secure. Because they don't want people to be safe and secure. If you're safe and secure and comfortable and happy, then there's no way to exploit you. There's no way to convince you. There's no way to fearmonger you. So we got to keep you in perpetual paranoia, tell you that Iran has a bunch of nuclear weapons, and then send your boys, your girls, your men and women in uniform overseas to go die for a catastrophic war. That J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and other people within the Trump administration took your tax dollars. Instead of taking that to the VA hospitals, how about feeding the homeless veterans that are on the street and put on this charade, put on this demonstration of just how abusive this administration can get. That they're going to take the men and women in uniform and put on a little show, put on a gag site, pretending that it's commemorating the people that have sacrificed over decades of war, and yet do nothing in return for the people that actually sacrifice in war. This is the ultimate dupe. It really is the ultimate dupe.